I invite you to take in some nice deep breaths. And just breathing in to what feels comfortable. And then maybe holding it just for a few moments. And exhaling. As you're exhaling, letting your belly button go all the way to the back of your spine. And this time breathing in and expanding past what feels comfortable, just a little bit. Just breathe in a little, just one more sip of air. And then letting yourself hold on to that. Feel what that feels like to hold that place. And then slowly exhaling. As you're exhaling, allowing your belly button to go all the way back to the very back of your belly button. And one last time, just breathing all the way in. This time getting to feel the reward of just that little push past that last moment, like, is there now a natural space? Do you have a little bit more space to breathe in today? And holding that for just one moment. One more moment. One more moment. And now slowly exhaling. Kristen and I were just trading stories about working out before you guys came on. And we were talking, she said something that really, we were talking about how just how, I would say important. One of my teachers, Stephen Jenkinson, says anytime you say important, replace it with the word meaningful, which I love that, because important is so like egoic, but meaningful, it's like there's meaning behind it. Talking about how, meaningful it is to be working out, be in the body, and as a storyteller, as someone who's wanting that creative spirit to come through you, and Kristen said something, she's like, that really stuck with me. She's like, it's important to feel strength run through your body as well. Strength of mind, strength of spirit, strength of body. And it's like, it makes it easier when it's, so fully embodied in the body. So we don't get to do a lot in our bodies with these classes, right? Because we're on Zoom, but I just invite you to into these moments of when you feel discomfort, allowing yourself just to come back to your breath. It's like what we do in yoga, it's what you do in Tai Chi, it's what we do in so many things. And so then we started. I am so excited to introduce you to Kristen. She is a dear, dear, dear friend. I met her, oh my God, like over a decade ago, maybe? I think so. 2012. I can't believe I remember this. On Kauai. And she just stood out right away as just a potent woman that holds so many different artistries. I mean, talk about an artistan. She is a craftswoman, and holds mastery in so many different kinds of creativity. We're going to get to experience just one part of her today in terms of her drawing, but also her work in terms of pottery is exquisite. Follow her on Facebook and watch her beautiful things. And what really struck me about Kristen is, and where we found so much alignment, is this place of what is it to be in the sacred arts? What is it to be a conscious creator? What is it to work with art as medicine? And when we started to first align, we were playing with, my soul stories and her imagery, and like looking at what dance and marriage that they might have. And in that, I've gotten to really witness her, this particular chapter of her evolution in terms of her sharing her craft more and more and more with people, and also really showing people kind of the techniques behind it. And so she is very well studied. She has been a very, well, I'm going to put quotes just because, successful is one of those weird words, but she's a very accomplished, has been recognized as being a very talented artist in many ways. She's shown in galleries. She's just an exquisite talent on so many levels. And she's also just an absolute pleasure to be with. And so you had her bio. I'm not reading all of her bio. I'm just, sharing these parts of her. And without further ado, I'm going to pass I'm going to pass the pin. Look, it's a new Zoom world. I'm going to pass the pin over to. Wait, I didn't quite do it right. Hold on. There we go. To Kristen. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. It's always really fun for me to come into the sanctuary space and share about one of my favorite subjects, which is sacred art, art and consciousness, creativity and consciousness, and how it is that we can engage in that conversation and be active participants in co creating in beauty. Can really just relax into the process today. I'm going to talk for a little while. I'm going to share some pictures and some slides. We're going to do a little bit of movement. We're going to do a little bit of sounding because I think those things are really important for opening the creative channel. Then we're going to have a moment for a bio break or to ritualize our practice in whatever way we'd like to. At that point, you can smudge or anoint as you wish to set yourself up. And then we'll come back and have a meditation. We'll have a big chunk of time for drawing, and then we'll have some time to harvest and share what we created. So I'm going to share what I sometimes call a ritual art practice or an oracular art practice or a prayer art practice today. So I have a formal arts background, and soon after college, I moved to New Orleans, and I started to have this experience with picture making where I would find myself creating rituals around it. And it was a secret thing I did. I had certain forms that would emerge that would do certain things to, say, clear my field or clear my mind, clear clutter out. I would notice that when I prayed with the paintings, um, things shifted in the world around me. I started to know the picture making process as a kind of magical doorway to the unseen realms. And so the way I often work is using this two-dimensional portal as a way to have a communication with the unseen or with what one might call my greater self or our greater self or consciousness. We can use it in a lot of different ways, and we'll play with that some today. The title of today's class is Create Your Own Sacred Symbol. So everyone has probably brought a prayer or an intention of some kind. And as we go into the practice later, you can dive with that and listen with that through creating. Um, I started to also notice over time that when I was praying with the picture making, that often things were emerging in the pictures that were much deeper than my conscious mind was thinking when I started the prayers. So I would get surprised and schooled by what was emerging in the picture making. And I began to go to it as a way to discover deeper wisdom, to remember. And there was a whole period where each day I would just ask, what wants to be heard today? And then create a drawing in that way. I found that really rich. And as Leah said, we met on Kauai on the islands, and there was this huge opening I had on Maui, actually, where I suddenly realized that all of these esoteric drawings, these alchemical pictures I had been looking at, were actually maps of consciousness, and that my big secret of praying with art is something that has lineages behind it, that monks do this, that every wisdom tradition has sacred art, and there are sacred arts and sciences to them. We'll look at some slides of some various examples of this in a few minutes, but there are deep scientific, ritual, prayerful arts that I love and am in constant admiration and appreciation for these forms and shapes that travel through time and remind us of truths and speak to our consciousness in various ways. And so there's lineages, and then there is each of us in our own innate connection to creation, to our soul's language, to our own library of shapes and forms and images unique to us. And I hope both we can each speak to Creator through the drawing process in our own way and discover that, and we can be informed and infused and in connection with the wisdom traditions. So we have both in this space. I'm going to go right into the slideshow now. It's going to be a lot of images. It's really fun. You can listen to the words or you can just let the images speak to you. And just be infused. Let's see. Here we go. So it's just an altar. I have that at the front for sanctuary. Create your own sacred symbol class. You know, even in the way we set up our altars, we are speaking in visual language sometimes. This is what I would call a yantra. A yantra is a map of consciousness. They're often in Hindu technologies, or in the Hindu religion. Each one represents a different aspect of consciousness. Things like the lines on these, the colors all have specific meaning. There's science too when you stare at the center, what the colors do to the different hemispheres of your brain. It's really deep and really beautiful. This is one I painted when I was playing in the realm of yantras. This is another one I painted, and another one. You could think of it as a mystical diagram. It means instrument. It's from the word yam, the root syllable yam. And basically a yantra describes, it's like the DNA of the universe, like the architecture of things. So when we look at yantras, we know that they're going to be describing something that's actually universal. That's the architecture of life. A few more yantras. I did not create these. This speaks to the expanding and contracting nature of the universe. This just shows another way that they're represented. You'll see some that are represented many different ways. These ones are in just the line, and these look two-dimensional, but when we consider them, they actually represent something that's three-dimensional. Here's some with color in them. This is a very famous one. It's the Sri Yantra. Let's see a few examples of the Sri Yantra here. That's the center part of it. Another Sri Yantra. There's a great book. It's called 9 Designs for Inner Peace. And I found it to be a really accessible way to start drawing and painting yantras. So just as a side note for anyone who wants to play with that, you draw all of these angles with a compass. It's very fun. And then many people will recognize this shape, this form, the flower of life, which is said to have found in many different civilizations around the world and speaks to, again, a universal building block of life itself. And this is such a beautiful example of visual language where we see the singularity, all these different singularities in a whole, and how they always come back to the wholeness. That's one that I painted years ago, and another one that I painted. These are really beautiful forms to spend time with and experiment with when you draw them and paint them, how they communicate to you. Then we have mandalas, which many people know about. Could be translated into sacred disc. Mandalas also speak to the multiplicity and the wholeness, and they are not necessarily universal and can include a person's unique journey, struggles, psychology, the expression of their life, and the relationship to the whole. So Carl Jung was credited with bringing the mandala to the Western world and worked a lot with with his patients with mandalas. It would be a beautiful way to work things out. And so here are a few that I've created. You'll see, I often work for this process in colored pencil and on dark paper. And I find that to be very immediate, and there's not a whole lot of negotiating with the materials. This has a little paint in it. I think for a kind of channeled practice, it can be really nice to use something that you have some comfort with. And these are just a few mandalas I played with personally. And then to introduce other sacred symbols, possibilities, we have some Celtic knots here. We have what I would call in this one the knot of eternity. And you'll see these symbols in various sacred art. And these one would call sigils. And sigils, often used in pagan traditions. These are blessings or spells, so to speak, that someone might create for a specific prayer. Sometimes they're made up of universal symbolic shape, and sometimes they're made up of just the letters of the words that make up the prayer. I just pulled in a few examples of sigils to bring them into the space. And then we have veve, which look a lot like sigils, but are from voodoo tradition. And these are used to summon certain spirits, certain forces. And I love them. I lived in New Orleans for a long time. And each spirit has certain ones that they get called by. So these are often in ritual, drawn in cornmeal on the ground. They also might be on an altar to that spirit, but they could be drawn in cornmeal on the ground as part of the ritual of summoning and working with that spirit. This one is for a spirit called Urzuli Freda. And just a few more examples of the veve. I like to bring them in part because they have such a lovely quality to the marks as well. And I'd like you to see a real range of mark making that might come into your own practice. Since we're working with sacred art and mandala and yantra, it's always nice to honor and mark these incredible Tibetan monks that create these beautiful sand mandalas. Here they're called mandalas, but to me, as I look at them, and I haven't studied these in depth, they look a lot like the yantra technology to me. They have also this shape, which we call the bupur, usually 4-doorwayed shape on the outer that offers a sense of containment. And we'll see this shape also, churches are often built in that shape, but it denotates sacred space. And we have a few pictures of the monks making the mandalas, which are eventually, well, they're ritually created and then eventually washed away as a beautiful display of impermanence. And then we have in India, the women create these kolam drawings on the ground in the morning. And I just love the cross-cultural parallels of these things. This looks very similar to the flower of life, right? And these are also similar to the veve done in like rice flour on the ground. And these women will create these in the ground in the mornings. They also have contests where they get together and share their drawings and their shapes and their forms. Here we have something that looks a lot like those knots of eternity. And then just to share a contemporary artist who I love, her name is Kathy Klein. When we create mandalas, when we create, her project is called Danmala. And these are made with flowers and natural materials on the ground. And so these can be earth prayers as well. Now, a few more of my drawings. Oftentimes I don't work in mandala and I work side to side. And these are some that have come through over the years. Some are actually this one's for a soul story that Leah created for me. And some are related to soul stories, some are related to certain prayers, and it's to give you possibilities, inspiration. Sometimes people ask, can I turn it upside down? This is one I turned upside down a bunch while I was creating it, and they can look very different upside down or side to side. Now we're going to move into other people's work. These are some students who've been in these classes so that you can see things that don't just look like my work. Word on materials, you can see this is pastels. Pastels can also be really fun. You can smear them around. And these are pieces by other people who have taken this class or another class or worked privately with me. This student works a lot like I do, and Jessie, she uses colored pencils. And this one's clearly on white. Mary, another student, was doing a lot of mandalas for a while, sometimes side by side. That's an interesting piece. These are from a Facebook friend who I asked if I could share, and I just love the quality of her mandalas. They're so quilt-like, and you can see their marker and crayon, and something really, really sweet and intriguing about these. Another student Lauren has a really amazing relationship with color and such freedom in how she expresses. This is new to this slide presentation. This is a Kismet prayer. Friend Inga West, I asked if I could share this one. It's a prayer about everything being in this divine perfection of the moment. And I just love this piece. It's so simple and so powerful. I met this guy on the side of the road, Gary Richardson. He does these incredible graphite drawings that are huge and then sells prints of them. And I don't think he would actually call these sacred symbols, but I have found them to be sacred symbols and very intriguing. So we can also work in black and white. What we do could be very, very simple. I just like this because it shows the evolution from the circle and these different phases. But one might stop here and stay with the line quality. It really is up to each of our unique expression. There's a great friend of mine, Sarah Juniper Green. She does all freehand mandalas. This is a specific prayer piece she made for me. It was sitting at the center of my altar. And each one, she calls these portals, and each one has a prayer, and she works on them for a while. Finding joy in the unknown. Usually they're colored pencil, mystery, presence. And she starts, just to share a little bit more about the process of drawing for anyone who wants a little extra direction. I work differently than her, so I like showing this. She starts at the center and draws the outline of the mandala. She calls this the seed of self-compassion, and then draws the whole thing out, and then the color comes in. So we see the skeleton and then the color of the rest portal. And yeah, I love her work. She's a beautiful artist. For anyone who wants a little tip about finding the center of your page, should you want to start at the center and work out, great way to do it is use a ruler from corner to corner and mark it, from corner to corner and mark it. And then where those little lines intersect, X, you have your center. That's often how I find the center of the page. And for me, my way of working with the colored pencils is just seeing which pencil pops out at me and going, and I'll go from side to side and work symmetrically, just filling in from side to side. So each of us probably has our own way, but people sometimes do ask how I get it symmetrical, and they're actually a lot less symmetrical than they look, but this is the way that I work. So for anyone who wants to save this, you could screenshot this, but I find it sometimes helpful to articulate a process, the ritual art practice. We're going to set up our space. We have our materials, our nourishment, our water. Altar, should we want to. You can work with an altar if you're working with a theme or taking a deeper dive. You want it to feel good. And then doing some sounding to open up the voice, some movement to open up the body, a meditation or a grounding practice of some kind, and then connecting with the intention of the practice. You can also, it can be really nice to write it down, whatever the intention is. And I heard someone say they wanted to get their mind out of the way and just create or work with a less calculated way of creating. And can be really helpful to just have a page next to you as you're drawing. So if there's thoughts that are coming up, you can just write them down and get them out of the way. Also for information that's coming in. Often when I open up this space, I'm receiving a lot of information. So having a little piece of paper for notes on the side can be helpful. Then there's the creation process itself, the active listening, and then harvesting and receiving what we've created. Sometimes that process can take weeks, or it can take me a long time to get to know a piece. So we'll do a little harvesting today, and then you can continue to be in conversation with your pieces. Things I like to fold into the creative space: self-kindness, turning judgment into curiosity, and really being curious about the communications that are coming through, rather than looking at the picture from good, bad, or pretty ugly, but really getting curious about what the communication is. Active listening, listening with the whole body can even be helpful for me as I'm working. I notice I let my eyes go slightly out of focus and open up my peripheral vision. Relaxed focus with intention and being aware of the breath and tension levels in the body. So that is the end of that screen show. And we're going to, in a moment, have a drawing exploration just to loosen things up. Before that, does anyone have any questions? Great. Okay. So get your materials out, your paper. You're going to want a page or two that are just, you can do whatever you want. They're not precious. And whatever materials you have is perfect. And you can, maybe just touch your body for a second, take a few deep breaths. That was a lot of information we just took in. Just find yourself in space. And just start with your instrument of choice, just by seeing how light of a mark you can make with it, how gentle of a mark you can make with it, and then let that fade into the darkest mark you can make with it. We won't spend a long time on that, but just playing with really light marks, really dark marks. And then moving into maybe 5 different kinds of marks you can make with that one implement. And then we're going to go through some different fun energies we're going to work with. And you'll hear me say, draw like a blank, or draw as a blank. And so if I say, draw like a cow, that doesn't necessarily mean draw a cow, though you can. But I would consider, what kind of marks would a cow make? Would they be feathery? Would they be heavy? Would they be broad? Would they be skinny? So we can start with that one. Draw like a cow. like a cow. And we're just going to keep moving through different ones. We can draw now like a hummingbird. Or as a hummingbird. And draw like an elephant. Draw like an elephant. Draw like a waterfall. Draw like or as a waterfall. And then you can shift that, and that pool that's at the bottom of the waterfall, draw like that pool. And so for anyone who's popping in, we're doing a warm-up exercise. We're using non-precious paper, and we are playing with different qualities, different energies. So draw like or as a hurricane. Draw like a hurricane. And then draw like a laser. Draw like a symphony. Draw like a symphony. You may also choose to draw with both hands, or your non-dominant hand can come in. You can feel free to get your voice involved and hum or make sounds. And draw like the sun. So if I'm moving too fast and you want to stay with one, of course, by all means, keep exploring it. Just bringing in some different possibilities here. Drawing like the sun. Drawing like rock. Like rock. Your rocks could be river stones. Your rocks could be big boulders. Drawing like rock. And drawing like earth or as earth. Mm. Drawing as earth. And then drawing like or as ocean. And in that ocean, we're going to find a whale. And we're going to draw like a whale or as that whale. We're going to draw like a blossom or as a blossom. We're going to draw as a star. Or if you feel a connection to a personal star, draw as your star. And then you're going to draw. This one's a little different, but draw from your center. Or if you like your central channel, you could draw from your central channel. Sometimes we play with drawing from different places, parts of ourselves. So maybe just shifting, seeing what's different. I mean, we were drawing from the center, and now we're going to draw from the base. Drawing from your base. And then we're gonna let that rest. It's always fun to do the warm-ups. We could go on and on. There's so many things to explore. I really love the warm-ups. And you can shake that off. And I'm going to start a song in a moment and everyone can move. We're going to just dance to one song. Before we do that, I'm going to say that when the song is over, we'll take about 7 minutes or so. We'll all definitely, maybe 5 if that works. And then we'll come back at noon. So that we can have a bio break. If you want to smudge yourself or set anything up or anoint yourself or your materials, you can have a moment to prepare for the drawing process.
And Kristen, just a note about time, because we're all in different time zones.
Yes. Oh, yes. On the hour. Perfect. Yes. Thanks, Leah. So I'm going to just bring us to an advanced share with computer sound. And the song, feel free to move your body. If you want to continue to draw while you move, I'm not going to stop you. This is just time to shake it out, move the breath. The more open the vessel is, the more open we are to create. Okay, we are starting to come back. Making sure that you have everything you need to be really comfortable. Oh, look, we've already got a beautiful drawing being shared. Amazing. So we're coming back. Before we go into, we're going to do some sounding in a couple minutes, open up our channel in a different way than movement. And then we'll have a meditation and go into drawing, and we'll draw for a good hour with a soundtrack going. So before we do the sounding, does anyone have any questions? I want to make sure that everyone's well set up. Okay, looks like we're all doing good. Okay. So I'm going to bring up a slide again, and you can either copy these down or take a screenshot. These are the sounds we're going to use for the sounding. And it's here. So you can, again, take a screenshot or copy them down. There are many different sounds that we can use to open ourselves up. We can do it intuitively. Sanskrit has certain seed syllables for each of the chakras. And I have really resonated with these. These are from a very sweet book called The Divine Name by Jonathan Goldman. It is said that when these sounds are put together, they spell out one of the secret names of God, I think in Hebrew. And you can put them together and pray with them. And that way, I really like it because of the way the vowels open me. And I find it very simple and easy to remember. So this has stuck with me over the years. I can't see you all, but I'm guessing you've probably got this taken down by now. If anyone doesn't, do you want to just speak out and tell me you need another minute? Okay, great. So we will start. We're all on mute. I'm the only one who's not on mute, so you all get to hear my beautiful voice. It's weird when we are all unmuted. We'll start with the root, and we'll sound through each one of them separately, and then we'll link it all together with our breath. So we'll start with the root, which is or like So the root is no one can hear you unless you're with someone, so you can really let it move, be as loud as you want. You can put your hands on that part of your body. Right above the root, we have the sacrum or the sacral center, the creation center. Sound for that one is oo. Ooh. Can even imagine that sound radiating through that center, energizing it and cleaning it at the same time. Oo is the solar plexus right in the center. No, ooh, oh. Almost as if that sound could start in the center of you and radiate out from there. Ah is for the heart. Ah. I is the throat. A, A, and then E, the crown. E. And then going back down, we won't say them as long, but we'll just say them E, A, I, Ah, O, Oo, So it's going to be like this. Oo, O, Ah, I, A, E, E, A, I, Ah, O, Oo, If that seems really complicated, just make some sound and it's great. It's fun with the way these flow together. You get some interesting harmonics. You probably noticed in the top, it's difficult to start separating those sounds. So here we go. U, I, A, E, A, I, O, O, I, A, E, A, I, O, You'll probably find a sweet spot where your volume feels just right, where it feels really connected. So for the next one, just find that place. One more. Noticing how you feel in your body after just that little bit of sounding. I'm going to go right into the meditation. So finding a comfortable position where you can sit for the next few minutes. Letting your eyes close. Feeling your breath moving, feeling your body breathing. Noticing your sits bones, the places where you're connected to the surface beneath you. Feeling the weight of your body, the warmth of your blood. Feeling your structure, your bones. And also feeling the space in your body, fluid and the space. Noticing the floor beneath you, and with your attention traveling down beneath the floor into the earth beneath you. And in your way, connecting with this earth. Maybe it's simply feeling her there beneath you, feeling your body resonating with hers, or maybe it's sending roots down. Sending roots down just to that right depth to bring up some nourishment. And so on the inhale, bringing up some nourishment from the earth. And on the exhale, releasing anything that's ready to be given back to the earth. Feeling your body breathing as you're bringing in nourishment and releasing. Again, feeling your base, your pelvis, and up from that base, traveling up the center of you, up your central channel, through your heart, through your throat, through your head, your beautiful brain, your mind, up through the crown, letting the awareness, opening a channel all the way up to the sky, to the above, cosmos, stars, any benevolent forces or beings or healthy and healed ancestors that you work with, any supportive forces that are coming in to draw with you today, opening to those, or the blessings of the sunlight, the starlight, the celestials, letting that shower in through your crown, into your architecture, into your body. Because there's a way that you can also breathe in that nourishment from above. So as if you're here in your body and you're bringing in the nourishment from the above, from the below, on the in-breath, letting it merge and then releasing it back out on the exhale. Right in the center of that beautiful nourishment coming in, we're going to bring in your prayer or your intention for today. And we're going to put it right in the center of all that support. It might be in your belly or your heart or your base. Find the kind of surface it wants to be on, or the kind of containment it wants. And then with your own attention and breath and care, and then the support from the below and the above, start to feed that prayer. And watch how it maybe comes to life or transforms or changes color. And we're going to follow this process right into the drawing. So as long as you want to stay with holding this prayer here and feeding it, please do so. You may also feel impulses to begin drawing, or to move, or to write down some messages that you're already finding. And we're going to go right into drawing. You'll hear some gentle sounds start. Following that right into the drawing process.
Om Jnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah.
सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयः सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखात् सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् शान्ति 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 शान्ति
We're a little more than halfway through, just to give you an orientation.
Hare Hare Gange Mahadev Sri Shankara Parvati Pati Mahadev Sri Shankara Hare Hare Gange Mahadev Sri Shankara Parvati Pati Mahadev Sri Shankara Jai Shiva Jai Shiva Jai Shiva Jai Shiva Jai Shiva
So we'll draw for just about 5 more minutes. So starting to move towards completion for now. And making any final marks for now, knowing that you can always come back for a second sitting with this piece at some point. And we're going to shift gears. So getting out, if you have a journal or note writing page, we're going to take a couple of minutes to journal anything that came through while you were creating, any messages. But also maybe standing up, shaking it out a little bit, turning around. You could turn your picture upside down and look at it upside down for a moment. Anything you need to kind of do to kind of reset. I know we just spent an hour with this drawing, but we'll just try to look at it with fresh eyes. And for the next couple minutes, just gazing at it, really seeing what's here. Receiving it. So you can play with even focusing on your back line of your body or the back of your eyes and let the image come to you. Almost as if this was a someone or a friend or a messenger who had traveled a great distance to share something with you. And what is it speaking or singing? What is the tone of voice or sound? We'll take about 3 more minutes to journal and receive. What is its fragrance? What is its flavor? What kind of music is it singing, or what is its soundtrack? And as you look at your drawing, you can play with receiving it with your whole body, not just your eyes. Hmm. I'm happy to share my drawing because I had a pretty powerful experience during this. It was very unexpected. I usually work on black or a dark color, and I was working with this theme of home. I've recently relocated and I'm in a very foreign landscape and environment. I moved from the Bay Area to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and was really in this home prayer. And I was guided to work with this light color of paper. And what came through was just so fascinating. There were so many rainbows. And a part of this transmission for me was the creative process is my home. And there was so much fluidity happening and radiance and as above, so below, and kind of fractals, this centerpiece, and then these other pieces, and just a lot of stacks of reflections and fractals. It's kind of hard to put it into words, but this is my piece that came through. It was very nourishing and very enlivening. The colors are not my normal palette. It was just so fun to have such a surprise in this experience. And so I would love to see who would like to share.
So this one is called Synthesis. Yeah, it's called Synthesis, and it's really about different parts of myself, especially from different parts of my life, where I really embodied those different parts of myself coming together in this poem.
And how was it getting out of your head creating it? I know you mentioned that design.
Yeah, it was good. I just started with the center, and I tried out some different colors. I was looking what you were doing, Kristen, and getting like, oh, I'll use green. So I kind of started with that. Used green early on, and it kind of ended up being something like a design I've been thinking of, but not as not as even, not as symmetrical.
Mm.
And I think that's part of the symbolism of it for me, is that it's not symmetrical or necessarily super tidy how the different parts of myself come together.
Yeah, there's such a sense of fluidity in these layers and the way that they're superimposed. Just there's something that's to me very graceful in the way the parts are coming together. Mm.
Yeah, thank you.
Hmm. Thank you so much for sharing. Yes.
Okay, so mine started with the eye in the center, and then it just went out from there. And it feels like it's important for me to see with my heart, which is that's just what came. The heart came around the eye, and then at the end, the goddess up here with the yoni going down into the womb almost. Now I'm seeing it almost feels like a womb in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and a container. It feels contained.
Yes.
Like almost like the circle around is like the divine masculine holding the container for the divine feminine inside. I don't know. I'll have to sit with this a little bit, but that's what came.
Yes, this is such an intriguing piece. The base and the containment, the scale of the containment part to her is a very intriguing dynamic as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a strong container, isn't it?
Yes. There's a lot of foundation. There's a lot of weight.
Mm-hmm.
And here she is. She's almost weightlessly lifting up, or at least that's my perception as I'm looking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank
I like
you.
I like that you brought in such a strong use of symbols as well. You have a lot of symbols and symbolism in this one.
Mhm. Thank you.